I asked you to please not click on today's video, but since you're here, let's talk about how the market has closed higher 14 out of the last 15 days to close at another record high. And the reason why I said don't click on today's video is because I don't have all the answers and I'm not going to pretend like I do, just like last week. Why? Because Nvidia reports tomorrow, and honestly, I just don't know what's going to happen. I'm better understanding what this actually means for the business, though. I learned a new word yesterday, NPU, or Neural Processing Unit. We've heard of CPU, you've probably heard of GPU, but I have not heard about NPU until today. And with this new chip, I think that really matters. The reason why it also matters is because I have notes that I prepared, and I talked about how not much to update on. The S&P is bullish. It's just a matter of how bullish. So what this really means is that we have hollow candles, and I talked about a warning here, meaning if we fall below last week's high, that would be 531.52 for SPY and 454.69 for QQQ. What this really means is that if we now take a step back to what I shared at the beginning of the month, I think we're going to get an explosive move tomorrow. And what I'm not sure about is honestly just the direction. We looked at PanW earnings earlier. Hey, it looked like it was pretty bleak. It went all the way down. Stock for 1 day, it's actually only down by 3.7. You might not even know they had earnings. So what's really going to happen when we hear about sale projections for this chip? I think it's going to really matter. So just bear with me, and I'm going to go through a little bit slower today. And if you have any questions or comments, please make sure to leave those. I would be excited to know. So the first thing I want to talk about here is just the fact that we're up pretty dramatically on the month. Normally, the average or the median is flat. The percent higher is 42%. Where does the S&P sit right now? Well, let's go back here to our chart. Let's pop over here to the monthly. We're currently higher by 5.85%. So here's where you're going to hear something you probably don't want to. What does that mean? Well, let's pretend, right? Let's pretend we actually slam all the way back down to close the month out flat, which would mean that we're going to go all the way back here and close a month out even. Are you going to be ready for that? That's what I'm trying to kind of do right now. If we slam back down to 500, I'm not going to be a little wuss. Hopefully you're not either, but I'm prepared for it. Honestly, I don't want this to happen. I got a lot of stocks, but I'm thinking about what could go right and what could go wrong. So if right now we're higher than any one of these readings, 1999, 3.9, 2014, 3.8. Then we got these pretty red numbers here. It gets better when we look 3, 6, and 12 months out, but I don't want to be blind to the potential we could go lower tomorrow. So I just told you what my first warning sign would be. That would be us falling back below 531.52 and 454.69. Let's quickly check in on that. So if we have a look here, let's just go to our weekly chart. And all we're looking for is that we're currently below the previous candle high. As of right now, even though we're closing up, we are below it. 531.52 is last week's high. We're looking to the number right here or the H. We do have hollow candles. We are expanding. But after the bell tomorrow, things are going to be moving. If we look here to the NASDAQ, it's currently above. And we talked about how our SPT was actually doing better than the S&P yesterday. Now it's giving back a little bit. So the market is whipsawing or it's flipping and flopping. Even if you look over here to crypto, look at Bitcoin slamming back down to 69,100 or basically that previous all-time high going back here to 2021. If we look to ETH, ETH is actually up another 2.5% today, getting pretty excited on the hopes of that Ether ETF. So what I'm really trying to tell you is that I see a warning for the S&P right now, even though I said we're closing at a record high, record close, right? 14 out of 15 days have closed higher. Just before we go further, I'm going to ask you for a huge, huge favor. If you could please consider smashing that thumbs up and subscribing to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. So what this means is that if the S&P closes red tomorrow, but notably on Thursday after Nvidia's earnings, I don't like that. And I've talked about the reasons why I don't like that. I don't like that because we still have this hole on the weekly chart, which is here at 512.55. If Nvidia doesn't report something the market likes or guides down, yep, I could see a 3 to 4 to maybe even 5% move lower. Please remember, we have built a staircase of support as we went higher here. If we're going to start filling gaps, we got 1.1, 3.4, and 4.5% as the downside targets. This would basically be a dip. A dip is 5%. So if we fill all the gaps or even some of them, I just want to see what the reaction is. I don't want to tell the market what it's doing. Why? I might not be fully prepared. All right, let's tell the rest of the story now. If we're sitting here at 63 or lower than we were yesterday, and we're at a new record high, what's the market kind of telling us? It's telling us that it's not ready to add on fresh greed until we see what happens with Nvidia. Something else which is really interesting is that Mike Wilson capitulates on bearish stock view. So, like, who's really left to buy? And I'm thinking about this because this next headline here, which was published on Monday the 20th, this was yesterday. Nvidia beating earnings per share expectations is the worst kept secret on Wall Street. So, does this mean it's a solid news? If everyone already kind of knows that Nvidia is going to beat, is that going to be enough? Well, we talked about this before. A 580 over 555 whisper number on EPS versus consensus would be a beat. I think what really matters is going to be forward guidance, which means this chip probably really matters. And I don't fully appreciate what it actually does, or if Nvidia is truly going to be the leader, because I've been noticing some competitors. So let's have a look through here. So I told you about the warning for the S&P. As of right now for NASDAQ, we don't have that. I don't see this moving higher for fear and greed. If after Nvidia, we fail to get into, I don't know, like 70 and higher, that's telling me all I need to know. It's probably distribution. And bears have capitulated. So who's left to buy? Man, I don't know. Here's a really big, interesting update. So yesterday, I shared this video with you, right? I'm sorry the audio didn't work, so I'm not going to attempt that today. But in here, I noticed a few things from Jensen. So I heard him say this. AI will be everywhere. That's Michael Dell. The next headline here from Jensen is, we've reinvented every layer of computing. That seems like a revolution. And this guy was excited yesterday. He was very excited. Whereas this next headline here, they're talking about, we've been partnering for 3 decades. Then we hear about a tsunami of change is coming. And we heard about AI factories, which is really what the headline of this video suggests here. So new AI factories. We're going to need cables. We're going to need data centers. We're going to need everything. This is going to be a big deal. So working with Dell across everything, blah, blah, blah. I really liked what I heard. What I'm hearing, I just told you that I don't know, but what I'm hearing is this. I'm hearing a very excited Jensen Huang. I believe that tomorrow he's going to talk about how, hey, everyone wants these chips. Look at what they're talking about. He's saying that we are only with Dell. And Dell's saying that we will only use the NVIDIA stack. NVIDIA works with all companies. However, ServiceNow and this CEO is saying that we will only work on the Dell and NVIDIA ecosystem. So even if there are competitors, he doesn't really care. If we think about whether or not NVIDIA is going to get the benefit of the doubt, well, this is where we know that PanW or Palo Alto on their last report, massive drop. It was like 20%. The stock rallied all the way back up. And zooming out to a 6-month chart, you wouldn't even know that they disappointed. So if we get soft guidance and the market likes it, I would probably expect something like this. A little bit of a down move, gap down, pump up. Ironically, that's exactly what Nvidia did today. Gap down, pump up, bullish engulfing candle. So, right, the plot's thickening here. Okay, so if now we understand that this could happen on the first earnings report, we're likely going to get the benefit of the doubt. So if we do slam down, again, I told you earlier that I'm looking for gap fills, potentially down to 512, which would fill that weekly chart. But we could drop as far as 4.5%. That would get us down closer to flat on the month. I hope you're following so far. I'm trying my best here. I'm just laying out the potential scenarios. The leaders are still leading too. Tesla got a little bump today. I believe that was on Pepsi ordering along with Ford for their EV fleet. Eli Lilly, man, people love that Ozempic. If I now look here to this article, a doomsday recession mentality is keeping the S&P strong. Mike Wilson is now capitulated. So I'm not sure how many bulls are left out there. But here's what I find very exciting for the longer term. I'm not sure what Jensen's going to say. And I honestly did not know about this before yesterday. As much as I think I know everything about the market, I just don't. Definition of an AI PC. Runs AI workloads locally using a graphics processor unit, a central processing unit, and a neural processing unit. Cloud use not necessary. And we heard from Microsoft and other companies that yesterday they had their big event. It lasts all the way till the 23rd. They're launching their own chip. They're launching an NPU, right, which is an AI accelerator. There's also these tensor processing units or TPUs. Google uses these. I had no idea what this was either. RISC-V, haven't heard about that, but I went through and did some research here where, whoa, this is like a really big deal here. Yeah, I would encourage you to read up on this if you want, but these RISC-Vs are in microcontrollers, AI accelerators, and storage. Look at the growth here. 366 million in 2022 to 617 in 2023. $95 million, or those AI accelerators, those NPUs, from 95 to 217. That's more than a double. That looks like demand to me. I think Jensen's going to do okay. And then looking forward to storage controllers, same thing. 67 million today to 96 million in 2023. This interview was quite interesting. And the next things I found interesting here were that I didn't know what this was. This appears like we're going to need an upgrade cycle for what? For computers, for servers, and for phones. The phones are what excite me. I don't think that people are going to want to buy a new Windows AI desktop to work on remotely. I think they want that on their phone. That's what I would want. And all this interesting information here, like a Intel Gaudi 3 AI accelerator. Man, I don't even know what this means. So I want to hear Jensen because he's still the leader. And as I look forward here, the AI PC race is on. Intel's Lunar is going to launch in 2024. Qualcomm revealed this device with Microsoft yesterday. They're also working on wearables with Google. AMD has the Ryzen Pro. Apple has M4. That's going to run the AI accelerator or those NPUs. I would expect Apple's going to announce this at WWDC, which is going to be in June. Here's something else to think about for Apple. Does Apple innovate? They used to when they made the first computers, but not really. Apple waits until a company does the R&D, shows there's a market, then they come in and make something better. That's what I'm expecting from WWDC this year from Apple. So I think Apple's going to have something to come in and really surprise us. I didn't think about this until earlier. I think that's the reason why they're talking about ChatGPT as well. Why? Because the cloud is not necessary. They can load that on the local on the local phone or on the local computer. And then if we think here to why is Wall Street still skeptical on AI PCs? Lack of a killer app, high price tag, and confusion around what's processed locally. So yesterday, Microsoft said that they're launching an AI computer, which is $200 cheaper than the MacBook, taking a shot right at Tim and Apple. The lack of the killer app, I would agree. I don't think it's going to be built for the desktop, though. I believe it's going to be built for the phone. So this is where I have a theory that, hey, this could all come crashing down. But as of right now, I'm seeing a lot of what I want to remain bullish if we continue to see higher highs and higher lows. So as we're now going into the second half and really like one more week left in the month, hey, if Nvidia comes out and delivers tomorrow, I'm going to tell you, look, the story's probably going to continue. On the flip side, though, if we disappoint, I am ready if we go down all the way back to flat on the month. Let me remind you one more time what that would look like. It would mean potentially puking up 30 points to go all the way back down to 300. If you're not ready for that, you need to kind of get ready right now. I'm going to leave you with one last thing here. Otherwise, I would really encourage you to just basically subscribe to the channel. Come hang out with me tomorrow, and I'll walk you through everything else I see here. But you want to do your planning now. If you don't plan now, you're probably going to regret things. People will generally fall into one of two buckets. If you don't own enough stock right now, are you going to be really disappointed if what I told you as it relates to these NPUs, these GPUs, how Nvidia has it integrated here? Are you going to say, oh my God, I knew it, everything was going to go up? Well, then plan now. You still have one more day before Nvidia's earnings. I'm making moves by myself, by the way. Made moves on the weekend, yesterday, and today. What happens if we go lower, though? Well, I won't be happy, but I won't be crying dragon tears either. I'm prepared that if we go lower, I've got some cash. It's not unlimited, but I would much prefer if we go higher. I am ready if we don't, though. And then finally, if you do own stocks, what happens if we do go lower? Do you know where you're going to stop out? Have you already trimmed? Have you managed the risk? If you haven't, again, please do it now. And then on the flip side, what if you do sell some stock and we go dramatically higher? I just showed you how, man, I'm like bullish. I could go higher by hundreds of % more. It's not going to go in a straight line, but tomorrow could really be the fuel to kickstart the next leg of the rally. With that in mind, please watch the video now queued up on the left, or you can subscribe on the right and come hang out with me at 9:15 and 9:30 tomorrow. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'll see you on the next one.